Assassin's Creed is a franchise that has existed for arguably way too long, and throughout all the years that it's existed, there's been many different iterations and installments in the franchise. With each new game, there's been an addition or a change to how the core mechanics work, whether it's a change to the parkour, the stealth, the combat, or the overall world. Assassin's Creed has added or removed many mechanics throughout its history, and some of them are a little bit controversial. Controversial to the point that some of them have been removed because of overwhelming criticism, and there's a huge swath of people who are begging for these mechanics back. And then also there's a few mechanics that remain in the games right now that a lot of people are begging to be removed. So today I just want to talk about a few of the mechanics that are pretty controversial in Assassin's Creed and that no one can seem to agree upon whether they like or they hate. Usually I tend to make videos about what mechanics I want to see return or which ones I want to see removed, but in the comments that I've seen over my years of doing content creation for Assassin's Creed, either on this channel or my other channel, I've seen in the comments a lot of people giving differing opinions regarding these, and I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of compile them and talk about the mechanics that Assassin's Creed fans can't seem to agree upon. Now, the first one you probably saw coming from miles away, and it is the infamous tailing mechanic. This has had appearances in and out of Assassin's Creed for a while. They became the most notorious and therefore most controversial in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and I feel like people are pretty split with this mechanic. So for those who don't know, the tailing missions in Assassin's Creed focus on you following a target through the streets, usually walking or running up on the rooftops, but the target is usually walking. So you're going at a walking pace through the rooftops or at the street level, and your target will usually stop every few paces, turn around, and you have to be hiding using social stealth or normal line of sight breaking stealth to hide from the NPC, not arouse suspicion, and not fail the mission. And the reason why this mission exists in Assassin's Creed is very clear. You're playing as an assassin and you have to play missions that kind of permeate that assassin fantasy. And something that an assassin in many forms of media will do is stalk your target, tail them, and figure out where they're going to see if the location they're going to is relevant to the mission or the objective you're trying to accomplish, or just trying to figure out what the target that you're stalking is trying to do or getting up to. However, even though the reason as to why this has been integrated is very clear, it's also very clear as to why people do not like this mechanic, or some people don't like this mechanic. It can be a very frustrating and boring mission to do if, when you want to just get a game, run around, kill people, and do cool things, you're stuck going at a walking pace, stopping every now and then for an NPC to turn around, look for you, and then turn around and keep on walking. It can get pretty boring pretty quickly. And Black Flag, in my opinion, I think rightfully so, received a lot of criticism for this because it overdid the amount of tailing missions you had. So it wasn't just one or two where it was a fun change of pace and a fun immersive little thing. It was just like such a constant barrage of tailing missions, and for such a fun and fast-paced game, it kind of killed the mood quite a lot of the times. And I was recently replaying Black Flag and noticed this for myself, and I think I definitely agree that it was overdone. However, the tailing missions or the tailing mechanic as a whole within the franchise, does it belong here or does it not? I think that the way to soften the blow with tailing missions and have it be an immersive and assassin-like mission that really powers that fantasy is by removing the auto-fail function of the tailing mission. If you don't know, in the older games, if you tailed a target and they saw you, the mission would automatically fail and they would reset and you would have to do it all over again. So imagine you're tailing this target for like 10 minutes across the city that you're playing in, like say it's Rome, and Ezio is following this target. If you get right towards the end of the mission and you make a mistake and the target turns around and finds you, you have to play the entire mission all over again. And that is objectively frustrating no matter who you are. I think they somewhat solved it in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where you start tailing a target and if he finds you, he'll just run towards the location and you'll have to find him there and then kind of do a normal stealth mission to find him. So a soft fail, I suppose you could call it, where the target that you're tailing just runs away and you have to find a different way to complete the mission, is a perfect compromise for a franchise like this that I think could benefit from these kinds of missions, but overall it's kind of been handled in a weird way with a lot of outdated design in terms of auto-fail function. So that's the first mechanic that I think is pretty controversial. The second mechanic that I think is controversial is not so much more a mechanic, but rather a feature or aspect of the game, and that is the modern day. Now, I could make an entire video about how much I love Assassin's Creed Modern Day, especially Assassin's Creed 1 Modern Day. I think it's the best out of all the franchise, but I'm not going to pretend that there aren't a lot of Assassin's Creed fans that simply don't like the modern day at all. Like, I get comments where people say, I wish that Assassin's Creed didn't have the future elements or the modern day elements, and I could just run around as an assassin in the historical playground of my choice. To me, that's always been such a strange relationship to have with a franchise whose premise is completely dependent on the modern day, but I do get that a majority of the playtime and a majority of the trailers focus on the historical aspect as the main selling point. So I get why people try and get that experience and then don't really care about the overarching narrative, even though I personally think it's amazing. So the modern day is something that people have never been able to agree upon. When they removed it, a bunch of people said they wanted it back. When they put it back, a bunch of people said they didn't want it anymore. And it's a very confusing thing as an Assassin's Creed fan to go back and forth between modern day or not. If you're looking for a compromise, which is I guess what we're doing in this video, looking for a compromise with these controversial features or mechanics, I think that making modern day very deep and fleshed out but optional is a good way to do it. I think that the main point of friction or frustration for players was when they were in the middle of like an amazing part of the Assassin's Creed game of choice, say it's Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and just at a climactic point in the story, you're dragged out of the Animus to do some shit with Desmond. A lot of people hated that because they just wanted to run around as Ezio and get back into the action, and you have this 20-30 minute segment where you have to do some more linear fashion missions and interact with the story. I personally love those moments and I didn't mind it, but I can see where the frustration can come from and why that made it such a controversial mechanic to begin with. Now, at number 3, we have one that's much more recent in the Assassin's Creed lifespan. This is something that was introduced in the RPG creeds. So RPG creeds are usually what we call the Assassin's Creeds that came after AC Origins. So AC Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, and now Shadows are the RPG creeds, and what they introduced was a very, very controversial change to the stealth system of Assassin's Creed, and they made it so you couldn't auto or insta-kill targets with your hidden blade unless you were high enough level or your hidden blade was a high enough level. This split the fan base in half, among other things, when these new games came out, because a lot of the old school fans' philosophy, and honestly this includes mine, is that if you're smart enough or skilled enough as an assassin to sneak behind your enemy and not be caught by using patience and tools and height and parkour to your advantage, you deserve the reward of being able to insta-kill an enemy that would otherwise take you much longer to kill and that would arouse the attention of a lot of other guards and just break into a fight. So if you're trying to stay in stealth and be an assassin, having a guard not be killable through stealth because this arbitrary number is determining that you can only remove half its health is extremely frustrating when you're trying to play the game in a stealthy way. And if you're playing Assassin's Creed, you want to at least be able to play as an assassin. I understand that a lot of people now want the option to play as an assassin, but maybe prefer to play as a warrior or other things for the most part, but you at least need the option to play as an assassin. I feel like most of us can agree on that. And it was just very frustrating for that to happen, and a lot of people just said focus on leveling up your hidden blade, focus on leveling up your stealth attributes or your character, and you won't have this issue. Problem is, you do have this issue, because until you've leveled that up, you don't get to kill guards from behind in an auto-kill fashion, and the way to level up is often going to places where there are guards that you want to auto-kill but you can't. So it's kind of like a self-refuting thing, because in order to level up, you have to engage with a mechanic you don't want to engage with until you level up. So you're just stuck not having fun until you can have fun. And that, from a game design perspective, in my opinion, is just horrendous. What they have introduced now in AC Valhalla and Shadows is the ability to go into the menus and switch on instant assassination, which I think just makes it so much better. I think this was a great compromise that they found. I still find it that it's a very controversial mechanic that some people say it shouldn't even be in a menu, it should just be how an AC game is designed, and other people saying no, like I want the challenge, I want the grind, this is an RPG, I want level gating, whatever it may be. So this is the one that I think I at least understand from the other perspective. I don't understand who would want non-insta-kill assassinations. So if you're someone who is a fan of the RPG creeds, who came along in AC Origins or AC Odyssey, and you don't want the ability to insta-assassinate guards, please tell me why. Is it because it removes the challenge, even though the challenge would be to reach the guard unseen, or what is it that kind of makes it something that you want to keep in the future? And this leads me into another element of kind of the leveling of the RPG creeds, which is also very controversial, which is level scaling. This expands beyond Assassin's Creed to just RPGs in general, but the way that I've encountered it and interacted with it is with the RPG creeds. So for those who don't know, level scaling is essentially when the enemies or any kind of antagonist force, NPC, in your game levels up alongside you. So if you start off at level 2, most of the enemies around you will be at level 2. And as you grind and level up and become more powerful and deal more damage, the enemies around you will also rise up and become more powerful as well. So there's never a real tangible feeling that you've gained an advantage over your enemies for grinding. It feels like that reward has been taken out. Again, just like the no insta kills, it feels like the reward has been taken out for your efforts, because no matter what you do, you will always have a preset level of challenge, a preset level of playtime that you have to invest into killing enemies. And this is really the reason why game companies do this, is because they don't want you to beat the game too quickly or beat encounters too quickly. They want a predesigned amount of playtime to be invested into each mission so that you can get the 60-hour, 70-hour playtime. Now, I think this is incredibly frustrating, and it does remove the sense or motivation to scale at all, but a lot of people do appreciate it because it maintains the challenge in easier levels. If you want to go back to the starting area of the map and you're level 40, you don't want enemies to be level 2 and you just kill them in one hit. I think that a decent compromise for this could be to have level scaling be within a percentage of or a range of your character. So if you're level 40, maybe enemies can scale to level 30, but you still have to be noticeably stronger than them for having gone through the effort of upgrading your gear, upgrading your level, and just improving as an assassin, magi, mercenary, whatever you want. If you've gone through the effort and time investment to become stronger, you need to feel that when you go to places where enemies were weaker and you were weaker. I am curious again for RPG fans if any of you believe that this wouldn't work and you just rather have everyone be level 40 when you're level 40, but I do think that it does remove a little bit of the challenge. So those are the 4 main, I guess, features / mechanics that I think Assassin's Creed fans really cannot agree on. If you think there's more, please do let me know in the comments, because I'd love to make a second video talking about more mechanics that people can't agree on. So don't start a fight, but do share your thoughts on mechanics that you don't want, and let's see who disagrees and who does agree. And if you're interested in watching a video where I talk about my overall thoughts on how Assassin's Creed could improve, which is by taking inspiration from Dishonored, you can watch this video now.